So I know that we've had a lot of questions come in from our supporters and people finding out about this information. So let's just kick it off with some of the more commonly asked questions. So one of the first questions we need to know is, do I need to apply for a permanent residency before I can get citizenship?
So, Jo, the answer to that one is no. And probably the most important decision that we've made, the most important decision that we've made is that we are not going to require Kiwis to go through that really onerous process of going from your special category visa onto a permanent residency and then to apply for citizenship. So we're removing that step in the middle. If you are a special visa category holder in Australia, and you have been here for 4 years effectively, and I'll talk about what the 4 years actually means, you can apply directly for Australian citizenship without first needing to hold a permanent visa. So for all of you who are on this call, if you meet the criteria and you've lived in Australia for more than 4 years, as of 1 July, you can apply directly to become an Australian citizen.
Hence
Huge.
the direct pathway.
Exactly.
Okay, and so another question that has been asked quite regularly is, do I need a valid a valid passport in order to apply for Australian citizenship?
Okay, so you need to prove your identity, and you can do that through a few different documents. So you've got to have 3 identity documents that show a photograph, a signature, a residential address, a birth name, a date of birth, and a gender. So while applicants have to present current documents with their photo and signature, they don't have to provide a passport, and they can use other documents to support their identity, such as a driver's license. An expired passport can also be used, Jo, if people don't have one that's up to date.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, so do the supporting documents for your application need to be certified?
They do. So a document that is being used for conferral of citizenship needs to be provided in certified copy. So they need to be certified by a person with the correct authority. So you can do that in pharmacy, or if you can find a justice of the peace. So applicants need to bring their original documents to their citizenship appointment. So they'll go through a paper process of applying online with their certified documents, and then they'll be called to a citizenship appointment. And for that citizenship appointment, the documents need to be in their original format.
Sure. Okay. Another question is, when you have actually applied for citizenship, can you travel overseas while your application is being processed?
Yes, you can, but Australian law also requires that you be in Australia when citizenship conferral is made. So what that means is that when that decision is being made about your citizenship, you need to be in the country. And so what we would ask is, if you are planning to travel after you've submitted your citizenship application, keep the Department of Home Affairs informed when you'll be away, so we can make sure that the citizenship decision is made while you're here.
And my understanding is that people are actually asked to provide their dates of travel.
Yes, exactly.
Known at the time they apply. So it's a good thing to do that. Think ahead
Yeah.
for the next year or so, and just put all those dates in to make sure that they'll be aware that you won't be in the country at certain dates. So
Exactly, Jo. And we'll be doing whatever we can to make this process smooth and easy for people. So helping us with that information will assist a lot.
Okay. So another question around being in Australia is, if somebody went overseas and couldn't return for more than 12 months due to the recent COVID pandemic with border closures, is there any residency exemption for this?
So, so to be approved for citizenship, you have to meet these legal requirements that are set out in our Citizenship Act. And one of those is something called the general residence requirement. And what that means is that you need to have been present in Australia for 4 years immediately before applying for your citizenship, and you need to have been a permanent resident for 12 months immediately before applying. So overseas absences are okay, but only up to a certain point. So if you've been overseas, it must have been for no more than 12 months over the preceding 4 years, we're considering you to have been a permanent resident, and for the 12 months before you apply, for no more than 90 days. So I'll just explain that again. So whereas we are going to assume that an SCV holder is a permanent resident, and so that will meet the 4-year permanent residency requirements. You need to have been in Australia for all that time. You can have been absent for 12 months over the 4-year period, and only 90 days in the 12 months before you apply for citizenship.
So for that
hopefully
last
that's
year,
clear.
you
It's a
need to
little
be
bit
here.
complicated. Yeah, you basically need to be here. You can have gone on a holiday and that sort of thing, but you basically need to be here.
So that's another question, is if you do leave the country for any reason, your 4 years doesn't start again. Your 4 years
That's
can
correct.
continue. It's only if you're away from Australia for a 12-month period or more, that means the clock starts again on your 4 years. So just to be aware of that. So that's good to know. So now another area that is of great concern to our supporters and the people who are interested in this pathway is about their children. So does their child need to reside in Australia for 4 years before applying for citizenship?
So, Jo, we've made special rules for children here. So if you have a child born in Australia on or after the 1st of July 2022, that child will automatically be considered to have acquired Australian citizenship at birth. So this is a really great thing for those of you who are online who are having trouble with NDIS and getting support for newborns. These children will now consider to have been Australian citizens as of their birth. And so a child who is born prior to that will not have acquired Australian citizenship from their birth. Those of you online will know that on your 10th birthday, if you're ordinarily resident in Australia, you become a citizen. You can get citizenship anyway. So that was already in place.
SCV who have children born in Australia at age 10, those children are eligible for
at age 10
citizenship if
that's
they're
exactly right.
ordinarily resident. But the really great thing is that the recent changes made by the Labor government mean that all children born from 1 July 2022 will be considered citizens from birth, and their parents can apply for proof of that citizenship. You can find that information on the department's website. So it's an amazing thing to have that backdated birth right of Australian citizenship. So you don't need to include that young child on your family's application. So that's great news.
It's really good news. And Jo, just finishing off on the children. So if a child's aged 15 years or younger, they can be included in a parent's application at no additional cost. So we'll consider them as part of that under the guardianship, I guess, of that parent. And applications for citizenship who are under 18 at the time of the application don't have to meet the general residence requirement, but must be a permanent resident at the time of the application and the time of the decision. So they have to be here for that 1 year, but they don't have to make the 4 years. So for young people, there's a few different rules that we can perhaps answer questions from people.
So
it's
just
a bit
to
easier.
That,
Exactly.
Children 15 and under can be included on their parents' application. Children who are 16 and 17-year-olds have to make their own application, and the young children born from 1 July 2022 are considered an Australian citizen from birth, and their parents can apply for that application, proof of citizenship. So a few different options there for the young people. So that's also good to know. So let's move on to some other questions. Answer those questions. What about those people who have applied for and been granted a resident return visa, who have to reside 12 months after being granted the resident return visa before they can apply for citizenship? Are they eligible for the new pathway?
So the new direct pathway applies only to SCV holders and New Zealand citizens who are overseas on 1 July 2023 and who last held an SCV or special purpose visa as an airline crew member or airline positioning crew member immediately before last leaving Australia. Resident return visa holders will be required to meet the general residence requirement by holding a permanent visa for 12 months immediately before they apply for citizenship by conferral. So there's a little bit of a different treatment there.
Okay. I think they were the main questions that I had. Can you think of any other questions, Claire, that we haven't covered?
No, I don't think there's anything else on my mind, Joe. I just want, I know that for some people who are listening, this might sound too good to be true, because I know for a lot of people on the line, they've been waiting for so many years to get some fairness and equity here. And I really want them to know that we're legitimate about this. As of 1 July, we would like you all to apply for citizenship if that's something that you want to do. And, you know, this is Anthony Albanese who's driven this from the very beginning. He's hugely passionate about this issue, and he wants to see that beautiful relationship between our countries reflected in these rules. So that's why the big transformation has been made by the Prime Minister.
And for once, if it looks too good to be true, sometimes it actually is true. And in this case,
Sometimes
really
it is. Yeah, exactly.
It's as easy and simple and straightforward as it seems. Reside 4 years, pay the fee, and become an Australian citizen. It's that easy.
Yeah.
For a very long time, it's not been easy at all, but now it finally is just that easy. There are no fish hooks.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a matter of waiting the 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. So, Joe, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to jump off because we're in a parliamentary sitting day today, and there's just a lot of chaos around here, believe it or not.
Exactly.
But I'm going to leave you guys to it. And can I thank Oz Kiwi again? Love you guys so much.
Thank you very much. And it's amazing that you've given your time in another busy sitting week for the Australian government. So that's great. And we really appreciate everything you've done for us. And thank you very much for joining us for this webinar.
Thanks, Claire.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you, Claire.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Bye.